When someone says the name SpongeBob SquarePants, what comes to mind? Nautical hijinks of a square yellow fry cook with a heart of gold, most likely. The one thing that likely won't come to mind is scary moments that'll leave you up at night, unless you're privy to creepypastas. But for me, however, there's one episode in particular that when I first saw it as a small child, it left me quivering, fetal style with my thumb in my mouth and dookie in my britches. Jokes aside, this episode truly did leave a heavy impact on me as a kid, and haunted me for years to where nowadays stuff like this, and this, don't even slightly faze me, yet this episode still makes me highly uncomfortable. That episode is Season 1, Episode 5, Home Sweet Pineapple. Now, the plot of this episode is that SpongeBob's house gets destroyed entirely, except for one lonely little seed, and Sponge and Pat try to build SpongeBob a new home, and failing, leading to SpongeBob having to stay with Patrick and Squidward for the night, before moving back in with his parents, not before planting the seed, which causes the new house to grow out of the ground. On a surface level, it seems like a very average, nothing special episode, but what I neglected to mention was how SpongeBob lost his home. And that's where the trauma starts. The episode starts off with a pack of nematodes, which are packs of small underwater worms that eat from bacteria and fungi. They're bouncing around Bikini Bottom, chanting that they are hungry, to which they proceed to eat a rock formation and then an entire car, leaving the driver suspended in midair, not even fazed by what happened to him, which is a good joke. But then they get thirsty, and coincidentally, they are now on Conch Street where SpongeBob resides, and stick straws into his house, and then...
Hooray, Gary! We're finally huge! Huh? Wait a minute! Oh, no!
This moment may just be a blink in the eye moment in the grand scheme of things, but the impact it left on me is palpable. There was just his house shrinking, and not all the stuff in it. And maybe it wouldn't have spooked me so much, but the fact that all of SpongeBob's possessions, along with his house, are shrinking and disappearing into thin air, and him being completely helpless and unable to stop it, is terrifying. SpongeBob tries to call Squidward for help, but his phone shrinks in his hand, and then there's one last scene of the nematodes outside drinking his house. It gets smaller and smaller until it wraps around SpongeBob and Gary, and then it's gone. The nematodes leave, and SpongeBob is left sitting there where his house used to be with Gary. Squidward and Patrick go to see what's going on, leading to what's honestly one of my favorite jokes from SpongeBob.
Yeah! Hey, SpongeBob! Your house is gone!
After that, the episode gets back on track and feels normal again, with Pat and Sponge doing the building montage, which ends with this.
I wish I lived there!
Really?
No!
SpongeBob declares he'll have to move back in with his parents, much to Patrick's dismay, and he offers to let SpongeBob live with him as his roommate. And then we get yet another eerie scene that made me feel uncomfortable as a kid. Nowhere near as bad as the first scene, but to be honest, it's impossible to top that. The scene is mostly silent in the dead of night, with Pat and SpongeBob laying under Patrick's rock as a blanket. The scene is mostly just Patrick being obnoxious in different ways, and SpongeBob finding other ways to ignore him. One by plugging his ears when he starts snoring loudly, and then plugging Pat's mouth when he starts salivating too much. Ultimately though, the thing that causes SpongeBob to decide living with Pat is a bad idea was when he started having nightmares and beating daylights into SpongeBob. Twice. Just a mix of the lack of dialogue for most of it, along with the long, empty stretches of darkness in the background, being exposed to the element and possibly monsters like the sea bear, culminating to creating a lack of ease into the viewer. Further sell the fact that this is a bad idea. Again, it's not as bad as the first scene, but it definitely doesn't help this episode's creep factor. Then SpongeBob decides to sleep with Squidward instead, and for a while it seems like Squid is okay with it, but that's just due to not being fully awake and able to process what's happening around him. So eventually when he does realize what's happening, he kicks SpongeBob out. We then cut to the next day, and SpongeBob is ready and waiting for his parents to pick him up, and where the hell did you get that hat in the travel bag? Full of stuff? All the shit finished in nothing. What's in there? Is it for Gary? Oh no, wait, there's two? Anyway, SpongeBob proceeds to bury the seed, as he says it holds too many memories and preys on it, causing it to begin growing. SpongeBob is about to leave, but is halted by Patrick hanging onto the back of his parents' boat, while Squidward dances on SpongeBob's empty plot, leading to a large buildup before a giant root explodes to the ground, with an exact replica of SpongeBob's house that drops on the Squidward. SpongeBob, his parents, and Patrick are elated and run into the house, where they see Squidward buried on the floor. SpongeBob walks up to him and says they'll be neighbors forever. Then we get to a zoom in on Squidward where he muffles "Forever?" And the episode ends. This episode may not seem all too special to other people, but it's highly memorable for me for these 2 moments alone. Hell, for all I know, I may be the only person who gets scared by this scene. But the fact of the matter is, it stuck with me for the longest time, where most horror stuff I just kind of find boring nowadays, which just goes to show that unintentional scary things are far scarier than most things that are made intentionally scary.
Either that or don't have any scare-proof lenses that make things not scary due to having a monster I find attractive in it, like everything else.
What y'all think of this video? I might end up doing more episode reviews on SpongeBob since there's quite a few episodes that have stuck with me growing up. I would like to talk about such as my personal favorite episode, also from Season 1. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed. Check out my Patreon for early access to videos. Check out my socials, all linked in the description below. I'll see y'all in the future. Sometime. Probably. Maybe. Don't count on it.